What if the person you trusted most was living a secret life? What if a single piece of paper, folded and left on the kitchen counter, could pull the ground from under your feet and reveal a week of lies, months of deception, and a future you never saw coming? Anna found out the hard way, and what followed was a slow, quiet unraveling that taught her how to turn heartbreak into a weapon sharper than anger. For 7 years, she had believed in the small, steady rituals that make a marriage feel like home. Morning coffee with 2 spoons, one for her and one for him. Quiet evening walks down the street, talking about nothing and everything. Messy, laughing attempts to cook together on lazy Sundays. She remembered the way he used to tuck a curl behind her ear across the kitchen table, and the way his laugh warmed the living room even in winter. James had been the kind of man people admired, polite, steady, and the kind of person whose word felt like a promise. They built their life in a small house with a garden Anna loved. And for years, the little things, repairing the fence, fixing a leaky faucet, celebrating small wins, felt like the foundation of something solid. Then, one ordinary morning, the corner of a folded note peeked at her from under the fruit bowl. She picked it up with a kind of careful curiosity, thinking it was a shopping list or a bill. The handwriting was delicate, shaped as if someone had taken pleasure in every curve. The words were soft, intimate, and full of a warmth meant for late-night whispers. Not for her. Not for James. Her fingers tightened until the paper creased under her grip. She read and reread the lines until the sentence blurred into a knot of disbelief and then something colder, an acceptance that settled in her like winter. She did not scream. She did not march into his study and hurl the paper like a gauntlet. Instead, she folded it with the same care the other woman had used to write it. She slid it back where she had found it, as though the paper might be returned to its owner and everything could be unmade. She kept going with the morning, smoothing toast crumbs into the bin and cleaning the kettle. Even now, in the tight silence that followed, she moved as if this were simply another Tuesday. People see loyalty in the pattern of daily life. Anna learned to use that pattern as a shield. When James left for work that day, he kissed her as usual, asked about her lunch, and ruffled her hair. His voice had the same easy charm. She smiled and answered with a warmth that belied the cold calculation forming in her chest. The first flame of a plan is rarely a great roar. It is subtle, like the slow drawing of a map on which each step reveals itself only when necessary. Anna began to watch. She noticed the tiny shifts she had once excused. A text glanced at in the middle of a movie. A sudden need to check the email just one more time, at 1 in the morning. She noticed how he began to press his phone into a pocket the moment she approached. She noticed the way he started, scheduling work dinners that conveniently matched the days his jacket smelled, faintly of perfume that was not hers. People who have been betrayed often imagine a single confrontation, the flung accusation, the dramatic exit. Anna did not want drama. Drama would be messy. It would leave space for lies and excuses. She wanted a clean truth, one so undeniable that no apology could paper it over. So she collected evidence like a person collecting currency. A message here, a photograph there, the details of a weekend trip that never included her. When James left his phone on the counter one night and went into the shower, Anna stood in the doorway and watched the steam blur the glass. Her hands did not tremble when she picked up the device. Years of quiet had taught her control. She scrolled. Months of messages lay like a second life on the screen. There were dates, places, and little tokens of someone else's secrets. He had been living 2 lives in the same house and wearing both like separate suits he could switch between at will. He had been tender to one and casual with the other, and in that carelessness he had assumed he was invisible. He was wrong. Anna saved everything. Screenshots forwarded to an address she had set up for herself, photos downloaded into folders she named with the dryness of a clerk cataloging a crime. The evidence piled up like snow until she could feel the weight of it under her feet. She did something unexpected. She leaned into the performance of being unaffected. She cooked his favorite meals, asked about his day with an amiable curiosity, and kissed him goodnight with lips that tasted of plan rather than tears. She joined his mother for tea, helped his sister move boxes, and remembered the little details of his childhood he always liked to talk about because she wanted the people who loved him to see what betrayal had taken from them. If anyone asked, she would be the doting wife. She would be the picture everyone expected. The more he trusted that image, the more perfect her opportunity would become. There is an art to timing. Anna measured it like a patient sculptor. She could have exposed him in private by handing his lover a phone and watching her crumble, or in public by shattering their marriage on a street corner. Those methods would make noise but not pain. They might break a heart but not the carefully built facade. What she wanted was something else. She wanted him to feel what it meant to be seen for what he had become. She wanted his world to fold in on itself in front of those who had applauded him, in front of colleagues who had entrusted him with their trust. She wanted absence where there had been presence. She wanted his mirrors taken away so that he would have to stand in the cold and confront what he had done. A birthday party gave her the stage. James loved birthdays. He loved attention, the polished ritual of people gathered to celebrate him. He had invited friends, colleagues, the whole extended family, the kind of crowd whose opinion of him mattered. He had chosen the menu, compiled the guest list, and polished his edges like someone preparing to climb a platform. He had no idea the platform would become a gallows. The house buzzed with a false warmth on the night meant to honor him. Laughter flowed, wine glasses chimed, and children darted between adults like sparks around a bonfire. James moved through it all like a man wrapped in the belief that he had not been seen in his secret moments. Anna watched him from the edges of the ballroom, a gently smiling figure who kept an internal ledger of every proof she had collected. When the guest book lay open and the room's attention bent toward her, she readied herself for the moment she had been constructing. "Before we finish tonight," she said, and the intonation was casual, almost playful. It tugged at people's trust like a hand on a familiar instrument. "I thought I would share something special." A projector, quietly set, flickered to life. A hush chased the music into the corners of the room. Familiar faces turned in curiosity. What came up on the screen was not a slideshow of romantic memories. It was a slow, merciless reveal of the life James had assumed would remain hidden. Messages scrolled, photographs frozen into frames, timestamps like nails, and receipts marked with dates and addresses. The evidence did not shout. It spoke with the cold clarity of fact. At first there were murmurs. Unease spread like an oil slick across happy faces. Then the ripple became a wave. James's hands went pale around his glass. He tried to move toward the projector, to touch a screen and make the images melt away, but he could not. The room was full of eyes that had trusted him, mouths that had praised him, and colleagues who had entrusted him with their reputations. They saw the images and the words and watched a life they admired be stripped apart by the truth. Anna did not gloat. She did not point fingers like a judge. She let the facts do the work and let the silence do the rest. The kind of calm she wore then was not shallow. It was an iron measured against a broken heart. She allowed herself one small, precise sentence, the measured accounting of a woman who had given everything and received deceit. The sentence landed and made the room change its shape. People who had once smiled at his jokes now looked at him like strangers caught in the act of a crime. What happened next was what Anna had calculated but could not fully savor in advance. People flinched away as respect turned to contempt. The laughter died. Whispered conversations became a chorus of small betrayals, lies exposed and friendships reconsidered. His mother's face, which had always been an anchor of warmth, hardened into a hurt that refused softening. Friends who had toasted to his good fortune exchanged looks that felt like verdicts. Colleagues left in pairs, speaking under their breath, their departure a procession of fading loyalty. James was left standing in a room full of people whose regard he had assumed. That regard evaporated like mist, he tried to explain. The human instinct to reach for excuses is both pitiful and telling. He offered stammering confessions and fumbling apologies, the kind of pleading people sometimes find persuasive. But the images on the screen cut through every defense. Evidence hardens truth into an argument that cannot be softened by charm. He had built a life of little choices and thought nobody would connect the dots. He was wrong. When the last guest had left in a quiet shuffle of disappointment, when the glasses were cleared and the music had folded into the old night, the house felt different. It felt like a shed skin left on the floor, a denuded place where secrets had once taken refuge. James stood at the center, a man without a stage, while Anna moved through the aftermath with a strange sense of lightness that surprised even her. She had expected